One common type of scam that we see nowadays out there is scam development. Scam development is very similar to scam SEO or other types of business scams that are going on, but it does have its own unique sort of flavor to it, its own unique process and hints that scam is going on. First of all, when it comes to scam SEO, scam development is something that businesses of all types have to deal with and at all levels. It's something that goes on all the time, and it's something that you should be on the lookout for. If you're somebody running an agency, you're going to run into victims of scam development all the time. And it's important for you to understand exactly what people have gone through. Now, there are certain hallmarks to scam development, and it has its own sort of clues as to whether it's going on or not. And I'm just going to walk through some of the typical things you'll observe when it comes to scam development. The first thing is an easy start. A lot of the times, developers who are dishonest and unethical and bad companies like to make the process of starting with them very easy. They don't do a lot of research. They don't do a lot of back and forth or discussion with the end client. They're just looking to get development to start no matter what. They're looking to get that first check in their bank account, okay? So they may make getting started incredibly easy. They may ask for very little money to start. It's basically the beginning of the engagement. They have dishonest intentions, and they want to start off as easy as possible. They're usually full of big promises, particularly promises revolving around a very fast turnaround or a very quick deadline, okay? Now, what ends up happening, the first thing you'll see is poor communication with the developer. Developers, not responding to emails, responding late, not answering phone calls, not being online on meetings that you may have scheduled. You're going to start to see that intermittent, they're not there situation begin. That's usually the first sign that something is bad and something isn't right with development. The next thing you'll see are delays. Delays are very common. And believe it or not, the delaying technique, it's actually a tactic employed by a lot of developers to drag things out in order to ask for more money. Because with a delay, they can say, oh, well, we're working extra hard. We're running into problems we didn't foresee. The initial budget that we had, it's not going to really cover it. I'm having to spend a lot on my developers. There's lots of different scams or ways of sort of manipulating a person when they have delays. So look out for that. That's the next step in scam development, are delays. And then this is followed inevitably by budget inflation, right? Where the developer comes back and says, oh, it was so hard, the work, it's taking more time. What you asked for is impossible, whatever it is. They agreed to the contract, but now that, $4,000 development project has turned into $8,000 or has turned into $6,000. Usually what they like to do is practice what I call budget creep, okay? What is known as budget creep, where they will not come back to you and say, oh, it's going to cost $8,000 when you agreed on $4,000. They're going to say, oh, it's going to take another $500. Can you send me another $500? So you send it. And a week later, it's another $5,000. And a week later, it's another $1,000, and so on and so forth. And they'll keep stringing you along and going along with this as much as you'll possibly go along with them. That's how scam development works. The goal is to slowly milk you. And it preys upon a psychological kind of tendency that people have, which is if they invest, they want to see it through, right? If you invest $4,000, you'll very likely bend and spend an extra $1,000 to get the development done, right? You're not going to cancel and get nothing for your $4,000. And they prey on that too. If you disagree, if you say, no, I'm done, you have to finish this for $4,000, quite often they'll come back with the threat that they'll cancel the whole project. Hey, you want nothing? You'll get nothing. The work's not done. I'll cancel it right now. They'll come back with that threat to trigger you to open your wallet and spend more money, or to trigger the client to spend more money. You'll see this pattern repeat again and again and again if you work in development for a while. You'll hear the same stories. There's all kinds of different idiosyncrasies and nuance to each story, but the truth is it's the same exact story, and it follows this pattern where they client started off, they were full of promises and hope. They spent X, they agreed upon X, and then Y is what they were getting. More and more bills, more and more invoices. And developers can continue to invoice, and believe it or not, they can just invoice and invoice and invoice you and deliver absolutely nothing. And it's actually very hard to sue them or to get legal recourse. Unless you have a really explicit contract and you are in the same jurisdiction, it can be very difficult. So you need to be very careful who you work with when you're going to open your wallet and start to spend huge money on development. It's something that can have enormously negative consequences. And, you can wind up in a really bad situation, particularly if you're employing a developer to work on a project for a client of yours. Okay. If you're working in that capacity where you're white labeling their work, this can put you in a real bind. Be very careful who you work with. Look for people with good reputations and make sure that you know who you're getting in bed with before you get neck deep in the development quagmire. Anyhow, that's going to conclude this video. Feel free to comment below. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to our channel and share with your friends. Talk to you in the next vid.